In today's video, I'll be bringing you 5 facts about Archer Emiya from the Fate series, and I'll be covering his combat abilities, why he was summoned by Rin instead of Saber, his tragic backstory, and more. And hey, if you're new here, why not join the 4-on-4 community by hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss a video. And I'll also quickly add that if you haven't seen all of Unlimited Blade Works, then there will be spoilers. You have been warned. So, with that being said, let's roll intro and get straight into the video. Archer is of the Archer class, obviously, during the 2 Holy Grail wars that he has been involved in. The first was the 5th Holy Grail War, where he was the servant to Rin Tosaka, who I may add has the best thighs in the whole franchise. And the second was the Grand Order Grail War, where his master was Ritsuka Fujimaru. Now, we all know that Rin was desperately trying to summon Saber for the 5th Grail War, but after all her preparations ended up with Archer. Why was this? The reason that Archer was summoned instead of Saber was because Archer was still in possession of the jewel pendant that Rin used on him to save his life after Lancer had stabbed his heart in his own timeline back when he was still Shiro Emiya. So in answer to the original question, it was in fact this pendant that acted as the catalyst for his summoning, not the one that the current Rin Tosaka had in her possession at the time. Thought that was pretty cool. So basic stat wise, Archer, obviously a human male, stands at 187 centimeters tall, or 6'1", and weighs 171 pounds. In terms of appearance, he has a muscular build, darker tan skin, awesome slick back white hair, and grey eyes, which is all of course different from his younger or true self, Shiro Emiya, who was around 20 centimeters shorter, definitely not as muscular, had reddish brown hair and golden brown eyes. In terms of his attire, Archer's classic servant clothing consists of a black and red theme. He wears black body armor that is made from a material that is presumably from the future, as the present time humankind are yet to discover what the exact material this armor is made of. The awesome red coat is basically 2 separate sleeves that are connected in the middle by a metal plate joined at his torso. This red coat is said to be a type of holy shroud as well. Holy shrouds are basically cloths that are used to wrap around the remains of saints. Pretty hardcore stuff, right? Archer isn't actually considered what you'd call a true heroic spirit, but what is known as a counter-guardian. I'll get more into that in a later fact. In terms of Archer's abilities, because he's not a true heroic spirit, his parameters, which is basically his servant stats, are weak. What Archer does, however, is fight to his strengths. Instead of training his weaker skills, he refines those skills that he excels in and refines them to an advanced level, mastering them to the absolute best of their limits. And what I find amazing about Archer is that he is the typical kind of anime character that has to work and work hard to get to the level he is now, compared to someone like his master in the 5th Grail War, Rin, who, as we all saw, had natural ability and great thighs. Archer's strengths lie in versatility and being very quick to adapt to his battle surroundings. He excels in battle experience and tactics, to which he combines the both to give Archer a very unique combat style compared to that of what you'd call a normal servant. And one thing that I really love about Archer's combat style and overall personality, you could say, is that his method of winning is not like a normal servant who fights with a code or chivalry. He throws those things right out the window, but does it so well that you can't help but just love the guy's arrogance when it comes to battle. Though of the Archer class, his go-to weapons are twin blades Kanshu and Bokya. We often saw Archer engage in close combat with his enemies, showing us he is very skilled in melee fighting. Through these preferred weapons of his, Archer has been able to come up with a fighting style that he is comfortable and suited to. He combines this style with his ability of projection magic. This allows him to quickly replicate any blades that are disarmed or broken. In terms of numbers, Archer is able to create up to 28 pairs of blades, dealing over 100 strikes each, even while being disarmed. Absolutely crazy stats for someone who is not an actual heroic spirit. Then, of course, as his class suggests, he does also wield a bow, and I've got to say, this thing looks sick. I'm a big fan of Archer's close combat abilities, but his long-range techniques with this bow are amazing. The bow itself has a matte black finish created by himself and made of the same material that his body armor is made of. Like previously mentioned, is a material that is yet to be discovered by that of the present time mankind. All we know is that this material is so strong that it is actually able to withstand firing a noble phantasm. I know, right? Anyway, Archer combines his archery skills with his ability of projection and often fires multiple normal arrows, as this takes way less magical energy. Though of course not as strong as firing a noble phantasm, these arrows are still powerful and accurate enough when fired in a burst to bring down buildings. Awesome. Archer will use his archery ability as support to others or in stealthy sneak attacks, and its range can be from hundreds of meters away up to 4,000 kilometers, which is just under 2.5 miles, which is insane. I think it's also worth mentioning that Archer wields the European way of knocking the arrow. What this means is how the arrow is fitted to the bowstring. So the European method is knocking the arrow over the back of the left hand, whereas the former Japanese method he used to use, knocking the arrow in the palm of the left hand. I thought that was pretty interesting. The Archer class has an ability that is known as clairvoyance. This is a visual ability, also known as eagle eye. You can obviously guess for yourself why the Archer class has this ability, but in Archer's case, his clairvoyance is called Hawkeye. It allows his ultra long range sniping techniques to precisely hit his targets, even if they are moving at super fast speeds. This technique is also handy outside of combat, as you would use it for scouting. And in terms of magecraft, other than the previously mentioned Hawkeye and projection magic abilities, Archer also possesses an ability that is known as Eye of the Mind. This ability is basically Archer observing his surroundings and current enemies, then would combine this with his intelligence in order to avoid incoming danger. Without this ability, Archer would have easily fallen to servants that master close combat such as Lancer or Saber. Okay, briefly touching on that not being a real heroic spirit topic again. Because of this fact, Archer, though a servant, doesn't actually possess a noble phantasm that a normal heroic spirit would. While you could consider his ability Unlimited Blade Works a noble phantasm, it's actually a reality marble. Now, before we continue, another spoiler warning for those of you that have yet to finish Unlimited Blade Works. Okay, cool, let's go. Unlimited Blade Works, also known as Universe of Endless Blades, is activated using a chant or poem. You know, the classic I am the bone of my sword thing. Both Emiya and Archer use this reality marble and activate it the same way, though their chants are slightly different. The reason for this is because they both have slightly different life experiences. These chants can be activated at any given time and do not require any previous preparation. In its appearance, it is basically a barren, rubbled wasteland that has giant black gears and is littered with thousands and thousands of swords that are stood upright in the ground, resembling that of gravestones, if you will. Then there is of course that hill, once again littered with these swords. This hill is the site Archer witnessed while he was on the verge of death. This site is also where Shiro made his vow to stick to his hero of justice ideals. Though they are both able to use this reality marble, just as their chants are different, their individual projections of it differ too. This is because of their individual state of minds. Because of this, it does mean that the two different projections are useless to one another. Archer's vision is built around the betrayal he feels, and Shiro's is built around the fact his ideals are both flawed and hypocritical, but worth fighting for. Now, what does this Unlimited Blade Works actually do other than project the characteristics of these two? It works around both characters' ability of projection magic. The place is basically a steel factory that can produce countless famous swords without their original owners. This world contains analysis, endless materials, and magic that is required to forge these famous blades. Once made, these weapons are now available for Archer and Shiro to wield. And these swords can reach their thousands based on how many of them that Archer has encountered, and yes, many of these are in fact other heroic spirits' noble phantasms that still contain the insane power they would have when wielded by their original owners. And one of the awesome things that both Archer and Shiro could do with these blades is actually modify them. We saw this with Archer's bow and his twin blades. Another cool thing about Unlimited Blade Works is that it's not just swords that they can reproduce. Spears and halberds are also other weapons that they can create. Also, they are both able to recreate shields and other defensive equipment, but this is much harder to do and requires much more magical energy, 2 to 3 times as much as a normal sword if you wanted to know. The only thing that they can't reproduce is modern weaponry such as guns or mobile weaponry such as tanks. And I mean, there is a lot to cover with this, so for the sake of this video I'll stop here, but if you'd like to see me make a full video going deeper into Unlimited Blade Works, let me know in the comments. Archer's sub and dub actors, in my opinion, did an amazing job at bringing Archer's character to life and gave us an accurate presentation of this quite complex character in the Fate franchise. Archer's Japanese voice actor is Junichi Suwabe. He has voiced other characters such as Aizawa in My Hero Academia, Itami from Gate, Grimmjow in Bleach, sticking with the Fate franchise as Saber of Black in Fate Apocrypha, Captain Yami from Black Clover, and many more. And now Archer has two different English voice actors. The first covered Archer in the original Fate Stay Night TV series and movie. That was Liam O'Brien, who has voiced other characters such as Gaara in Naruto, Lloyd Asplund from Code Geass, Kari Yamato in Fate Zero, and more. The second, and more than likely the one dub fans will be familiar with, as he voiced Archer in the recent adaptations of Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, Heaven's Feel, and Grand Order. That man was Kaiji Tang, and he has voiced other characters such as the current Vegeta in Dragon Ball, also the current Guts in 2017's Berserk, Hendrickson from the Seven Deadly Sins, the Armored Gorilla from One Punch Man, and more of course. Okay, for the majority of this video I've mentioned that Archer is not what you would call a true heroic spirit, and that there is obviously that connection between Archer and Archer Emiya. I'm guessing by watching this video you have seen Unlimited Blade Works in full and will not be surprised by this next part of the video. If you haven't finished Unlimited Blade Works, then please stop here as this will be spoiler. Anyway, okay, I'm sure as we all know Archer's true identity is that of Archer Emiya, and is not a true heroic spirit in terms of being a famous icon from times past. He is in fact another version of Archer Emiya from an alternate timeline in the Fate Stay Night world. Instead of being a true heroic spirit, Archer made a contract with a being known as the World in order to become the heroic spirit Emiya. He must now act as what is known as a counter guardian as payment on his side of this contract. And a counter guardian is basically just the same as a heroic spirit, except they are not worshipped, kind of like an unknown hero if you will. And why was this contract made, you may be asking? I'll have to explain more of Emiya's story in order to get to this answer. Okay, so this version of Emiya pretty much followed the same path as the Emiya we follow in the series. He still summoned Saber as a servant in the Grail War, though he didn't quite share the same relationship with her. After the Grail War, he still followed Rin to London and started working as a freelance mage in order to continue down the Hero of Justice path. Around this time he started to rigorously train himself, but this is where the despair first started to emerge. It quickly became apparent that his abilities were nowhere near good enough in order for him to achieve his goals of saving mankind. At this point, Emiya is now around his 20s, and it's also at this time that he receives the famous red coat. More importantly, at this time in his life was the fact that he had to make a huge life-changing decision. A calamity appeared and threatened to wipe out 100 people directly in front of him. It was in this moment that he made the contract with the world so that he could perform miracles as a heroic spirit. And of course this power would greatly help him achieve his dreams of saving mankind as a hero of justice. Not only could he save the 100 people in front of him, but continue to save many lives as a heroic spirit after his death. And this is where things take, more of a tragic route for Emiya, and explains more about the constant betrayal he feels. Emiya had fought desperately to end this war. However, he was branded a betrayer to his allies and named as the mastermind behind the war he desperately fought to end. Now, branded a betrayer, he was executed. And of course, being the Emiya we know, after these events he didn't hold a grudge or any hatred towards mankind. The complete opposite in fact. Now a heroic spirit, he believed he could continue to save everyone. This of course was not the case, as he became the being that would sort out mankind's poor actions. This often forced him to take many lives in order to save mankind as a whole, rather than saving everyone, which was his original intention. Over time, and after being forced to continuously oppose his ideals, he slowly began to hate and deny his own existence and said ideals. He now needed a way to undo this existence of his as a counter guardian. What he came up with was a plan of travelling to a time where the Archer Emiya existed prior to the time the contract was made with the world. Once he had travelled to this time period, his plan was to kill that timeline's Shiro before a contract would be made, meaning that many of the world-changing events involving him would not come to pass, thus creating a time paradox that would potentially wipe out his own existence. And thanks for watching. This is my video 5 facts about Archer Emiya from the Fate series. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you'd like to see more characters from the Fate franchise, let me know in the comments. Also, don't forget to smash the like button if you enjoyed this video, as it really does help my videos reach a wider audience, and of course subscribe for more anime based content. So till next time my fellow weebs,